I'm told that the London insurance market is about to hit an enormous crisis because no one can get insurance for ships going through the Gulf, which means that essentially Lloyd's of London has ground to a halt. So there's a lot of moving parts, quite beyond what's, I think, riveted a lot of us overnight, which was the shifting sands of the Trump administration's justification for what they're actually doing in Iran.
Let's get the latest on what's going on the ground with the Times World Affairs editor Catherine Philp. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate.
Can you give us an update on where we are this morning in terms of the latest news from Iran and the region?
Yes, we're seeing a day of very heavy strikes on Iran that suggests that what Donald Trump and Marco Rubio said yesterday, that the worst was yet to come, may be unfolding now, and that more military targets are being engaged rather than the kind of personnel, a lot of the personnel strikes we saw before that were targeting leaders. But we're still seeing extraordinary fight back from Iran in terms of hitting the neighboring Gulf states, actually sending very little, relatively, in Israel's direction, and focusing it on places like Dubai and Bahrain. We saw overnight a hit on Saudi Arabia's biggest oil refinery. That's another dimension. The price of oil is now rocketing. I'm told that the London insurance market is about to hit an enormous crisis because no one can get insurance for ships going through the Gulf, which means that essentially Lloyd's of London has ground to a halt. So there's a lot of moving parts, quite beyond what's, I think, riveted a lot of us overnight, which was the shifting sands of the Trump administration's justification for what they're actually doing in Iran.
And just on that, I mean, we have heard the change in emphasis. We've also heard from Marco Rubio the suggestion that Israel were about to strike Iran and America felt it had to get involved because otherwise American personnel would be at risk in the region. Have we seen any other evidence for that? I mean, that was also John Brennan's point. That's what he believes happened.
Well, I'm not sure if we need any more evidence. And Marco Rubio came out and said it, and it was kind of a marmalade dropper. Did he really say that out loud? Now, the full context of it is that he said, look, this had to happen at some point, and it would have to happen in a year. Well, that's a point of debate. Lots of people have views on that. But he straight up said that, that Israel was going to do this, and that they kind of had to almost be led by it, certainly by the timing, which is an extraordinary thing to have said, and one that may yet cause Donald Trump some difficulty in Washington and on Capitol Hill and amongst indeed his MAGA following, because there's already been criticism from both right and left about the notion that American foreign policy is overly driven by Israel's interests and not America's. And indeed, Israel and America have different. The Trump administration keeps shifting its justification, but I think it's fair to say that Israel and America didn't go into Iran with the same objectives. They do have different objectives. I mean, possibly subtly different, but they're not identical. That's the point. And Biden took a great hit at the ballot box over the perception that he was too indulgent of Israel as well. So this is an increasingly unpopular thing to be in American politics, which is a shift from, say, 2 decades ago.
Can I ask you finally, Catherine, you've written in the paper today extensively about the opposition forces, the different groups inside Iran. And one of the things that John Brennan said there was that he believes that there is a risk that these attacks actually strengthen the feeling, the pro-regime feeling within Iran. Is there a danger of that? And is there anyone emerging that might be able to lead this kind of groundswell of support for a new version of an Iranian leadership?
I think that would take regime defections, and I don't see that happening myself. I mean, it's possible it could, but I think that the Revolutionary Guard have too much to lose. They've got bloody hands and will stand together. I think we could see a much more securitized Iran. I would have one point of difference with Mr. Brennan there, which the fact that he didn't mention the brutal repression and massacres of January and the putting down of those protests, that has left Iran a very traumatized place. And I don't think, to be honest, that this military action on Iran is going to change the minds of anyone in Iran. They were either already pro the regime or they were against it. The critical point is there anything that they can do about it? And at the moment, it does not look like they can. There is a monopoly on arms in Iran. They are in the hands of the Revolutionary Guard and the military and the Basij. The people themselves, very few of them have weapons. So this still leaves open this question of how exactly the Iranian people are supposed to rise up and overthrow their own government, as has been suggested by Trump and others that they ought to do. We are no clearer to seeing how that can possibly happen when you bomb a country from the air. It's never happened in history. I can't see why it would happen now.
Catherine Philp, Times World Affairs editor, thank you very much for giving us your expertise on the programme this morning. And you can read Catherine's piece in the paper. It's really worth a read for the explanation of the various number of different opposition groups and sort of groupings within the country.
And the problem Trump has is that all the reasons he's now trying to marshal for making the attack that he did were true 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, arguably. There's no question there was an imminent threat on America for which a defensive action was necessary.
Well, I found Robert Jenrick's idea of justification for the UK getting involved as well quite difficult. Imminent threat, it does imply something very specific in international law, and if you are going to go down those lines and it has to be provable, it's quite a high bar.
And actually we all know why Trump did it, and Israel wants chaos in Iran for very understandable reasons, and Trump had brought all those people close by and promised that he would help the protesters, and maybe he just felt he had to do it. People, I think, are slightly more pro-Starmer this morning than they were yesterday. David says, I think the PM has behaved commendably in relation to Trump's assault on Iran. The president is capricious and unreliable. He has little regard for alliances and seems to have no coherent strategy nor a plan for the post-war period. He's also come out to Harry Cole in The Sun today, that Donald Trump has, and said that Keir Starmer was merely pandering to Muslim voters as why he did not support this strike on Iran. 0330032353.